what is the purpose of life? I want to dive a little bit around this aspect. So stick with me. Cue the intro. And we're back. So, the meaning of life. Now, this is how I interpret it because, well, the channel's based on what's in my mind, my philosophy on things. So here's my take on the meaning of life. I think that genes are the overriding factor to life. Reproduction. I think that is more valuable, or meaningful rather, in life than anything else. Because without reproduction, the genes stop. And without the genes stopping, you can continue and flourish. And then everything else applies afterwards. So that would be survival, food, shelter, clothing, water. Right? So I think the meaning of life, the most meaningful, valuable thing in life is reproduction. Continuing on the genes. I've talked about this when I talked about a plane going down. So a plane goes down, and you know that you're going to die as a man. You need reproduction just for that 0.00000% chance that if you don't survive, that girl survives. So you rape, and it's not you doing this. It is your subconscious. It's something that's more powerful than you taking control of you in order to reproduce, your genes. Just for reproduction purposes. That is it. That's how important it is. Now, just think about sex. It's the most addictive thing that is not a drug. However, the reward system that your body intakes when it's chemicals, endorphins, your love for your children, like everything about you changes to reward you for having sex. The feeling's extraordinary. It's just an overall great feeling. So go back and watch my video on rape. It's probably one of my more controversial videos. If you want to unsubscribe from me, watch that video. I talk about how natural rape is, and I don't want to dive into it, but anyways, the point is reproduction. That's the point in life. Everything else comes after. That's why when you're growing older, you still need to survive too, because you're trying to take care of those genes that are a generation or even two before you, or after you, rather. It's the most important thing in life. That's why when women get older and they realize that, hey, their eggs aren't fertile anymore. They're not creating eggs. They're not able to have children anymore. They go through different levels of craziness. I'll just put it that way, because just to sum up everything, and I don't have to go into that right now either, because this video would take forever. That's why men, when they get older, or women, if you don't have any children, you get depressed. No one's taking care of you. You don't have that love, that bond. And that's another aspect of life that's important, is love or bond. If you're not bonding or communicating with other people, this is going to make you depressed as well, because when you're happy and your genes are happy and everybody's happy, you tend to reproduce more. The happier the person, the more influential, or rather looked for as reproduction purposes to the other person, the other mate. If you're happy and I'm happy, chances are we're going to be happy together and able to raise children. However, if one of us is depressed, it's going to screw up the whole flow. And that's why another thing of yin and yang is important. Balance is very important, because if you don't have balance, it becomes a turnoff. So these things are more important than you consciously making decisions. The genes and everything that has to do with those genes override your conscious decisions, your conscious understandings. It's that important. That's the meaning of life. And it's above you. It's above your decision making. Everything else happens after. That's why a lot of people say the meaning of life is happiness. Be happy, enjoy life. Well, that's not the meaning of life. Your opinion can be whatever it has to be, but this is my understanding. Happiness is a subvariant through the process of which reproduction is necessary. This is what's important. Happiness is a byproduct, a subvariant, not the underlying, overriding meaning of life. It's just below. It's something that is produced. Happiness is produced in order to have offspring in our genetics as humans. If you're depressed, chances are, let's say you're a dude and you're depressed, chances are girls don't want to deal with that. And if you're a dude and your girl's depressed, well, chances are you're gonna be like, man, why are you such a bitch? Why are you always depressed? This is not a turn on, this is a turn off. Why? Because this is more valuable to pass on your genes to someone who's happy and somebody that is going to be doing more for the genes. That's how important this is. That's why when people say that, hey, you don't know what it's like until you have children, because your life changes. Your life revolves around that offspring and how important that offspring is and how important that offspring creates offspring. Wow, that's how important this is. It's above you. It's above everything. It's above your conscious decisions. It's more important than anything. And I've realized this more and more over the last couple years. More than anything, if you asked me what's the meaning of life 3 years ago, I would give you the cliche answer, to give life meaning. But how wrong I would be. Because, as your conscious development occurs and the more aware you are to things, the views, the things you look at change based on how you view things. So I'm viewing things now that there's a part that I don't understand very much, but it goes above and beyond my conscious understanding of life. So I can't just pinpoint this is the meaning of life, because it's all about taking care of the genes. That's more important than anything. And when people, you notice that there's people out there, especially fathers, that want to make sure the next generations are well off. And I think that's an evolutionary process through which the genes came first. You want the next generations not to be in debt by the state. You don't want the next generations to be mutated by vaccinations and dumbed down with fluoride and whatever, right? Autism's on the rise. You don't want this for the next generations. Now, if you don't have children or you're not consciously aware of what's going on, you're not going to be able to distinguish what is great for the next generation. Rather, you won't even be able to comprehend that this is happening, that there's a dumbing down of the next generation. It wouldn't even occur to you unless you were someone in this situation where you're a father and you care about your children. Hence, you care about the future generations. Now, I'm not a father. However, the biggest, most important thing in my life is to become a father. But make sure that I'm doing it with the right woman, making sure she's the best mother to my children. That is very important to me. And the people in my life right now know that's the most important thing to me. And the reason being is because I understand what the meaning of life is. Don't you want to raise your kids and have them flourish and be happy and enjoy life and then give offspring? And don't you want to be a grandfather or grandmother? That shit's important. I've said this probably a few videos ago, that my biggest fear in life is to be that old guy who never had children. That's the scariest thing in life to me. I'd rather die right now than have that happen. But I would most certainly rather have children with a woman that's going to make my children's lives a lot better. Understand unschooling, understand love and dedication and nurturing. The role of a woman is very important. Same with a man. And I want to make sure that yin and yang is right there the best of its abilities, the best of its duality. So that's my take on the meaning of life. Because when people have their own meaning of life, usually it's a subvariant of the true meaning of life. And it could be happiness. It could be, well, you gotta be successful in your career. But the thing is, you gotta think farther, right? And I'm gonna make a video probably right now on the powers that be. Because you need to think farther. You can't just think the president is in control of our country, because that is so far from the truth. Donald Trump has no control over the country. I know that's tough for you guys to understand. Donald Trump has no say, no power, but you guys don't understand that. That's why I made that video on Donald Trump, and that presidents are celebrities. Obama, Bush, anyone that's ever been president was through a popularity contest. Who's the most coolest person to be in charge? What face do you want to see? Who do you want to see go to late night talk shows and be that guy? Who? It would be a celebrity. They have no control. But we'll talk about that in the next video. So I want you guys to think farther. And don't say that the meaning of life is to give life meaning. The meaning of life is to be happy. Because these are well farther down on the spectrum that have to do with the actual thing, but that's not the correct answer. I'll just put it that way. And I don't think we're ever going to know the correct answer, because it might be even farther up than genes. It might be the creators of the genes, if you really want to dive into conspiracies and deeper mindset. And that's all conspiracies are, is thinking outside the box and thinking farther and using philosophy and science to come up with a better answer. That's where people come up with conspiracies. They're conspiring. But it very well could be something farther than genes. Who created genes? Maybe, have you ever thought of humans with an ant farm? Have you ever thought of maybe the creators just looking down on us and watching over us and seeing how cool things are? And it very well could be. But I don't have that answer. And I don't ever trust anybody who claims they do. Because you don't. You don't have that answer. Doesn't matter what book you read. Doesn't matter. You don't have that answer. You don't know for sure. And those people that know for sure don't know for sure. When you claim that, yeah, I have the answer to that, oh, there isn't. There just isn't. Yeah? Why? Because you just haven't seen it? To somebody living in the desert, they don't probably know what it's like to swim in the ocean. So once they do, then they're like, oh wow, I found this out. Terrible example, but it's what came to my head. Alright, that's enough for this video. I don't want this to be too long. Let's dive into the next video, shall we? See ya.